Hello everybody! Welcome to Shock Therapy. I'm your host, Rocky Raigeki. And with me today, on my left over here is our favorite co-host, Hugh from the Totally Not Hugh. And we have a new guest tonight, new co-host with us tonight. On my right, we have SentinelSam right here. Yeah, I gotta say hi, guys. We only have we have only one viewer right now. That's okay. Yeah. So you guys already know Hugh. Like, he doesn't need any introductions. You already know him. He's a friend here at the show. But SentinelSam here, or Sam, is new. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? What do you stream? What's going on with you? What kind of like things you're up to recently?
Or with martial arts, and what I'm working on right now is a project called Vio Productions. And basically it's a project where you can commission music, and then we make basically a royalty-free song for you, and so then you can use it on your stream without any issues. But then it also there's going to be a whole database of these songs, so that you can then stream other songs as well, so that it kind of provides this network of songs that people like VTubers can use without worrying about Twitch or YouTube, striking them because of the music.
Oh, that's cool. Is that like a paid service thing, a subscription?
It's still in the works. So we're there's a Kickstarter going on. But in terms of like the details of how they're going to run it, we're still working on that, trying to find the best way to serve everyone. So.
Oh, cool! That sounds great. Yeah. It's kind of like Epidemic Sounds or something. Kind of like that. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, welcome everybody. There's some new people coming in. We got Agro Oni with us tonight, listening to the podcast, and Puri Purin too. If you guys didn't hear his introduction, this is SentinelSam, our new guest for tonight. He's doing a music background music service, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's a Mongoose VTuber who's also really into martial arts. We have Hugh here. Hey Hugh.
Hello.
Hey. Yeah, Hugh's back. You guys miss Hugh? How was your exams, Hugh?
They were good. They were pretty. They felt easy, which is worrying for me. But I mean, yeah, they were good.
Yeah. What kind of exam was it, if you don't mind me asking?
It's English and math and grammar and all that.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Wish you luck in your educational endeavors. Yeah. So you're Sam, you said you're into martial arts. So you mind what kind of martial arts do you do? Like,
sure. When I was in high school, I started taking karate. It's America. That's kind of the easiest martial art to start out with. So I did that for quite a while. But about halfway through my karate training, I also started training with a friend in Muay Thai. And that one wasn't with any sort of school. That was just with a teacher, somebody from Thailand. And so I got to learn some interesting techniques through that. And there was a funny situation that happened at my karate dojo, where we were practicing kicks and just trying to harden the skin on our feet a little bit. And they had us kicking with the same foot for like 2 minutes.
Oh wow!
And my foot started bleeding, And so I decided, okay, I decided I was going to transition from a karate kick, which kicks with the top of the foot, to a Muay Thai kick, which kicks with the shin. And I ended up, the guy who was holding the bag for me ended up sending him flying across the dojo because he was not expecting a Muay Thai kick.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But then from there, after my karate training, I took some time to study Wing Chun on my own, and I incorporated that into my Muay Thai and karate. And so it's one of those things where I don't think Wing Chun by itself is a great combat martial art, but it has some really interesting
is it the one where you like whack the wooden guy with the thing that Bruce Lee does?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's and that's one of those things is you find the best of whatever martial arts, the best traits of whatever martial arts you run into, and you pick up the best and you leave the rest. And so even though I didn't think it was the best combat martial art, I found a lot of value in some of the techniques, especially defensively, that they use in Wing Chun. So I incorporated that into my own fighting style.
Oh, nice. Hugh, have you ever tried martial arts?
I did try karate when I was very young.
Do you have any stories about that?
No, I don't really remember it, honestly.
Yeah, I also tried it, karate, when I was a kid. It was really fun. My instructor was kind of a softie though. He didn't really like had us fight. It was just more like katas, you know. And it was cool. But now the only martial arts I'm into is Kyudo. You know Kyudo?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Kyudo is Japanese archery. And
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's less about like self-defense and all that. It's more about like form and it's like a ritual where you shoot an arrow into like the target. It's really relaxing. I really enjoy it. So yeah. What got you into martial arts, by the way? Like what got you like interested in doing all these sorts of martial arts?
I had been interested from a really young age, but I never really got the opportunity. It's one of those things. My parents were. I was the third child in the family, and so my parents had gotten quite weird by that point. And so, like, you know, the normal stuff that you have, you know, little kids do, like Boy Scouts or karate or things like that, they just didn't put me in any of that stuff. So it wasn't until I got older when I started kind of speaking for myself and saying, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, that I actually gave it a shot. But like I've always been interested in definitely I would have to say the martial arts movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Bruce Lee and stuff.
Bloodsport is probably one of the most influential for me. Starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is it basically it shows like what UFC basically was trying to become, and it's like this mixed martial arts tournament thing, but in the movie it's like this underground super secret thing, and they said it was based on a true story, but it really wasn't, and it was, so there's a whole thing behind that. But
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed martial arts movies as well when I was a kid. The one movie I really liked was Drunken Master.
Oh, that's
Jackie
great.
Chan. Yeah. I watched that a lot, like over and over. You like watching martial arts movies, Hugh? No?
I used to enjoy it. I mostly watch anime now, so I mean, I've sort of fallen out of that practice, but yeah.
Same. I think me too. Really. I think I really lost interest in martial arts. Yeah. It's just because I know now that a lot of it is just like mostly Chinese propaganda.
Yeah.
Like there's always scenes where like there's always the Kung Fu man versus the karate guys, and it's always like there's always a scene where the Chinese man just beats all the Japanese people and like, oh, we're superior. You know?
Yeah, that's the
like it's a
movies.
Like a repeating trope in like every single like Chinese kung fu movie. They always have a scene where like the Chinese martial artist goes up against like karate people, like a whole dojo of them, and he just like wrecks all of them. even if they attack all of them at once, like all of them attack at once, they still beat them. And it's also like a repeating thing where they go up against like a Western fighter, you know?
Yeah.
There's the white guy. And they always get the big guys like Chuck Norris or whatever, like really big white guys, and they just like whoop them.
And I think the only fight I ever saw that did that kind of trope that was convincing was in the movie Ong Bak with Tony Jaa.
Oh, I think I watched that.
But like he was using Muay Thai. That's a much more physical martial art than say Kung Fu.
Yeah, that's why I really like the Jackie Chan movies because they were funny.
Oh yeah.
But thinking about it now, like I don't like Jackie Chan anymore.
After some of the stuff that has happened, Yeah,
what happened to my hero? Yeah. Why do you think martial arts is important, and why do you think so?
I think it's important. I think I don't think everybody needs to care about it or anything like that, but I think it's important to kind of keep the memory of martial arts alive, and because from a cultural aspect it's interesting, from a being able to exist in society, it teaches you a lot of different lessons. It's the whole trope of like, oh, it teaches you discipline and this and that, and I mean it's basically made a joke of at this point, but I mean it is true. When you do get into martial arts and you put in the time and the effort, it does teach you a lot of lessons, and there's not many things that do that quite in the same way as martial arts does.
Yeah, and it keeps you healthy too, right? Like there's a lot of cardio and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good activity, I think. What do you think? Hugh?
I think in terms of like balancing activities, like martial arts is probably one of the most healthy things you can do, because it's almost like the perfect balance of strength and cardio. When you practice martial arts, you're sort of getting strong, but you're also improving your cardio at the same time. So it's really good for you. And I mean, it's also, once again, like you said, like really good for like teaching lessons. So I'd say it's pretty important.
Right.
And I would also say for anyone who's interested in gymnastics or dance, do karate or do taekwondo, because in those sorts of classes you build a lot of those little fine balance muscles and things like that help you then when you take dance classes or gymnastics classes to kind of pull off those different stunts that you do.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite martial arts favorite style, and why?
If I had to choose one, I'd probably say Muay Thai, because first of all, it's the one that kind of feels the most comfortable for me. I'm a pretty tall dude, and I feel more comfortable striking with elbows and knees than with fists and stuff like that necessarily. So because it has a lot of those elbows and knees, I like that more, because every time you strike someone with your fist, you've got all those little bones in your hand that can break, and it's not the funnest thing when that happens.
Right.
But so that would probably be my favorite. But at the end of the day, it's I enjoy all martial arts. It
That's good.
just depends on the fighter.
Yeah. So, Hugh, would you ever consider like trying martial arts again?
I did a few years ago. I tried to get into judo.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't really my thing. Since I already sort of have bouldering going for me, if I sort of added something else on top of it, I feel like I don't really have the time for it, and the effort to put into it. But I mean, if I gave up or if I quit bouldering, I definitely would try to get back into it.
Nice, yeah. I think I'm getting to that age where, the sort of like the faster like striky martial arts get me a little winded.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to try kendo, like the sword one, and I went to like a kendo dojo, and they go at it, like they go ham on the sword, dude. Like they go yeah. It's a lot of cardio. And they go all out. Yeah,
it's very different from HEMA as well, or historical European martial arts. Because I've done HEMA, and I've also done a little bit of kendo training. And kendo is very direct.
Yeah, I think kendo is more sporty too, right? Like HEMA is more like you gotta be traditional and stuff. Like, well, kendo is like you just like gotta hit like certain parts of the body really fast. So it's more like an actual like sport in HEMA. Like HEMA, you hit people with a pummel and right, and the shield play and stuff. Yeah.
It depends on the place. Like where I trained, we had heavy weapons training where you would actually wear armor, and you would they would be blunt weapons, but you'd train with real like long swords or pole axes and things like that.
I want to try that.
Yeah. But we had one guy that was in our group that would always shield bash, and that was like his go-to move, was to shield bash people.
It's like Dark Souls.
Yeah, but in the group where we were training, that was actually illegal to shield bash, because the thing is even with armor on, you can really hurt someone with shield bashing, because that blunt force that and so they came up with a technique to teach him not to shield bash. Every time he tried to shield bash, they would cup check him.
Oh, dang.
So they'd strike him between the legs, and he learned pretty quickly that, I shouldn't shield bash.
That sounds so fun, but like I don't think I'm physically fit enough to try that. Yeah. Nowadays, I just like lift weights.
Something that you might like more, if you're ever interested, is rapier training. Or it's basically like fencing. But traditional rapier training is a little different, though, because obviously you're not training to go for just specific targets or anything like that, and there's a bit of historicalness to it as well, where you can look at different old manuscripts and see the different styles that people used. It's fencing would be the closest equivalent today.
Caper said, "I've only heard of rapiers in D&D." What? It's a weapon type. They have it in Dark Souls.
Yep.
What do you think, Hugh? You're so quiet today.
I'm just normally quiet, but I don't really have much to say on this. It's not really my area of expertise.
What's your favorite weapon, Hugh? Like, if you like in fantasy or whatever.
In what? Oh, in fantasy.
Yeah, like in anything. Is it gun?
I don't know. The closest thing that comes to mind is Dead cells.
Dead cells, yeah. What's the weapon there?
And I like using the Vorp pan.
The Vorp?
It's literally just a pan. It's just a frying pan.
A pan! I like pans. I think my favorite weapon is the bow.
Nice.
The bow and arrow. I don't know. I like how it feels. Pulling it back, and like that sound when the arrow hits the target, it gets really addictive. Like once you hit it once, you're like, I want to do that again. But, yeah. What's your favorite weapon, Sam?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
There's something to be said in sort of archery, because I did do archery for about 2 to 3 years.
Oh, nice.
Which is different from Kudo, because archery is, once again, it's more of just like hitting stuff. It's not like any tradition.
Sport,
but I did try both a recurve and compound bows. And I gotta say, there's something beautiful in this sort of the sense of the natural. I don't know how to say this, but like the naturalness of pulling back recurve bow, as opposed to a compound where it's just you feel the pulleys and stuff, and it doesn't feel as natural.
Something about pulling bows is just something therapeutic about it, I feel.
Yes.
I know for me, I had some trouble with archery, not because I was bad at it, but because I'm left-handed. And so like whenever you go to get a compound bow, all compound bows are made pretty much for right-handed people. And it got a little annoying, but that's one of the things you deal with. Same thing with guns. Like you get a shotgun, and I can shoot a right-handed
guns are
shotgun.
right-handed? Like guns can, like, depending on the hands?
Yeah, a lot of times.
I didn't know that.
Some
really?
of them, some shotguns discharge downwards, but a lot of guns discharge to the right. And so when you're shooting left-handed, that means that hot casing is flying right in front of your face. And you don't want that.
I actually have a story about that. I have a friend who's left-handed, like we call him Southpaw here in Japan. And I introduced him to my Kudo friends, and he was worried because like he's left-handed. Do you need a special bow? And they said no. The Kudo, like, it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed. We're gonna do the same thing. Because apparently, like, you have to be facing a certain direction all the time. Like, you can't face the opposite direction because it's, like, away from the shrine or whatever. You gotta understand, Shinto, Kudo is less a martial art and more like Shinto, like, ritual. Like, it's less about, like, killing people and self-defense and all that. It's more like, like, praising the kami or whatever. So, you can't, like, turn your back on the shrine. So you have to do it the exact same way, regardless of regardless of like your hand preference. But he was really good. Like, he did like better than I did most of the time.
Nice.
I think it's because like the left hand also plays a big part in archery. Like, I mean, the right hand has the strength, but the left hand is the one that aims the bow. So like having a good left hand actually like makes it like a little not, I wouldn't say like easier, but like it has its advantages, right?
Yeah. And the only reason like I wouldn't be able to do that is because I can't aim out of my right eye.
Oh, really?
And I don't know what it is, but I have a very slight astigmatism. So like my eyes are very American because they're football shaped. And so basically whatever that does, it makes it so that I can't like aim down a sight with my right eye, which is really weird, but
nice. Welcome, Zeed. We got some new people watching us. Thank you for tuning in. We got Sam here, who's a martial arts expert, and Hugh over here.
Yes.
He was back. I i.e. astigmatism gang, were the same. Zed said astigmatism gang. Nice. Right. Cute though. Yeah, like people like children here in Japan, like middle schoolers could learn Kyudo at school. But I've always found that surprising, because like you in America that would never happen.
No.
Like,
Although when I was in middle school, we did have archery during gym class.
oh really?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like a private school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a Catholic school system, so that might explain a few things.
Yeah, but here the public schools have it. Like, it's crazy. Like, they just have like the funding, and they just support kids with like, and the kids don't mess around either. They don't go running around and shooting each other with bows. They're like very disciplined. I'd imagine in America, you give like a middle school kid like a bow, like somebody loses an eyeball.
Yeah, they were very strict about how we had to do it, and like you didn't get to hold the arrows.
Yeah.
You got to hold your bow, but like the arrows would be at a certain point in the line, and you know, so we could only pick up one arrow at a time, and this and that, and blah blah blah. So
yeah, like it always like makes me like in movies, right? The people usually wielding the bow are like these skinny elf ladies. Which I don't know, like they don't even have like chest protectors. Like I don't know how they do it. Like if they did that in real life, their chest would get hit by the string and they would hurt like a lot.
Plus, you can't really do archery without a wrist guard.
Yeah,
I mean, you can.
It's not fun.
No, it's not. When you have where you go back into like medieval times, at least in Europe, when you had archers, that's one of the things, is that a lot of them weren't these tiny little guys. They were big, buff dudes. Because they had these big bows, and it took a lot of strength to draw them back.
A lot of tricep muscles, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of like chest and back muscles too. Like, like you should also like, you gotta be careful if you got like a big chest. That string will smack your chest. It hurts. That's why the ladies, they wear the chest protector things. To prevent them from getting hit. Zed said, if I tried archery, I'll probably miss you. Sheesh. Thank you for that, Zed. Yeah, it's always like the elf ladies with the archeries. Now, there's a lot of like misconceptions with weapons, I think. Like, you know, like people always assume like the first weapon a samurai would use is a katana. Yeah, like that's probably like the last weapon like the samurai would use, because like samurai were actually known a lot for their bows. Like before like
didn't they have like spears and stuff?
Yeah, like they got like the naginata and stuff. Like the cross halberd. But usually they would try, like, also in the Sengoku era, they had guns.
Oh yeah, that's true.
A lot of samurai had guns. And people assume that the samurai, they always fight with swords. Honorable battle between two swordsmen. No, they would hide behind like the wooden shields and just shoot people with rifles.
Those are just the stories that you get told, because those are the times when it was, something that wasn't normal happened.
Yeah.
There's a story that I read about a place in Japan called Kusobakara, and because I studied Japanese language and culture in college for a while. And Kusobakara is supposed to be apparently ancient Japanese for that translates to shit pants. Because Bakata eventually morphed into the word hakama, and so
like the
but
pants.
what the story, yeah. But what the story was is that these two warlords came together to fight on this, in this area, and it was all pretty much farm fields. I think it still is. But the one army clearly had a much larger force, and so everybody knew who was going to win. But at the time, the tradition was you shot a ceremonial arrow to start the battle. And so the leader of the large army shot his ceremonial arrow, and it stuck in the ground just like normal. The leader of the small army shot his ceremonial arrow, and it flew and killed the leader of the other army.
Holy heck.
And so, as the story goes, this large army ended up running away from them, shitting their pants as these guys pretty much ran them down.
Oh, dang. They didn't have no leader. Yeah. That's crazy. There was this legend here. My town is actually famous for this one person. They kind of brag about this person. Like, oh, this person is born here. His name is Nasu no Yoichi. My town's mascot is Yoichi, and what he did was he was like a warrior in the Minamoto faction. It's gonna be boring for most of the people in chat, but like before like the Sengoku period, before like all the Oda Nobunaga samurai, there were like two big factions. One is Minamoto, and the other is the Taira, and they had this big war, right? And this guy, like, basically he was a soldier for one of the clans, and the Taira was taunting them. They're like, "Oh, we got these big ships, and you can never like hit the fan on our boat or whatever." And then this guy brought out his bow, and he shot like this fan hanging from this ship, and he shot it like right through, and it raised the morale of the army. And he just like wrecked the boats and stuff. So it's just like really famous. Like I guess he's like the William that's the guy, the Western guy named William Tell or something.
William Tell?
Yeah.
He's like the William Tell of Japan. And my town like is really proud of that guy. But they say like there might be a chance that he never really existed. That they just made this up.
They say that all the time, don't they? With all your favorite heroes, it's like, oh no, actually this guy did this.
Yeah, like King Arthur or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they say King Arthur was real. It's just like all the stuff we know about him is like wrong. Like he wasn't like a knight in shining armor or whatever. Like he's more like a, Yeah,
well, King Arthur was actually a Celtic king.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people think of England, they think, oh, they're an English king. No, for most of history, the British Isles, or as I call them, the Celtic Isles, were were ruled by Celtic kings. And so it's a little different, but when you look at the tales, when you have the Merlin and things like that, it makes more sense in the context of a Celtic story than in the context of a story about an English king.
Yeah, I mean, like Merlin and stuff, like the freaking knights, like the Christian knights wouldn't like let that fly.
Yeah.
It's like witchcraft and stuff. Like he wasn't like a knight, like. And Zed said they're saying that don't bring a knife in a gunfight, but no one says about bringing a gun on a sword fight. Totally making the Puri Puri said I could totally see them making this story up, like the arrow story. Yeah, legends and stuff.
Well,
do you
I mean,
think?
Legend
Go ahead.
made
Go ahead.
up because it's like it's in its nature to be superficial.
Mhm,
Like
yeah.
Yeah.
you can easily make a story up that's hardly propagatable because it's like old. You don't really have
Mhm.
any written record of it.
Yeah,
Well, and a lot
true.
of it too is propaganda.
Right, right, right.
Mhm. Like that's what happened with. I know a lot of people are familiar with the movie Braveheart and William Wallace and
Oh,
all this
yeah.
stuff. And it even addresses that in the film where there's a whole scene where it's like, people are talking in one household. Oh yeah, I heard he killed 5 people, and it goes to the next household. Oh yeah, I heard he killed 50 people, and so it just kind of builds
Yeah, it
and
builds up. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, especially when the honor of your country like rides up on the back of this hero, like
right.
like they would like make him like like a legend, like this is our country's hero or something.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move away a little bit from martial arts and war talk. I want to ask you, like, what got you into VTubing?
I was interested in it for a long time. Because I mentioned I did Japanese language and culture. That was my minor, but I majored in radio, TV, film. So entertainment was kind of always the field I wanted to go into. And when I started seeing some of these VTubers and such, I thought it was an interesting idea. I didn't really tackle it too much for a long time because I just had my own issues with confidence and figuring things out. But then I got a new boost when I had to switch colleges to study video game design. And then I switched because I ended up having cancer. And then I took a break, and then after cancer, I went a different direction. But that's when the pandemic hit. So I ended up not only taking a semester of classes because all the classes moved online, and I have ADHD, so that just wasn't a good combination for me. So that's when I started seriously considering VTubing, and it took me a little longer than it should have to jump into the game because I didn't get started until June of last year. But the interest started kind of right around the same time as you had HoloLive EN pop up. That's it wasn't them that sparked my thoughts, but I just remember around that time thinking about that, and then seeing HoloLive EN, and then just being like, dang, I should have done this sooner.
Yeah. Do you think it's too late for you? Is that why you think you should have done it sooner?
Oh no, I don't. I just think it might have been a little easier to break in at that early stage than now when a lot of people are trying to break in. But it's also interesting to see because I think I don't think we've seen the final iteration of what this sort of medium is going to become. It's going to continue to grow. And so I'm curious to see, where that takes us.
Yeah,
I think at this point it's already sort of evolved. I think the VTubing bubble has sort of burst already. Because now being a VTuber isn't in and of itself like a quirky thing that you can be. It's sort of a norm thing. So I think VTubing has sort of evolved sort of into sort of a content creator sphere, I think.
Yeah.
So you have to find like being a VTuber
isn't enough anymore.
Isn't enough. You have to find other things to grow.
Right. Yeah, it's just like VTubing isn't a genre. It's just like it's not like, oh, I'm a VTuber and you gotta watch me now. Like it's been normalized, I guess. Like a lot of like people do it, and just being like you said, it's just not enough anymore. You gotta find your niche. You gotta find your community. And Freya Rue's here. She asking me to drink. I'm gonna drink a little bit, guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the redeem.
The other thing that really pushed me to lean forward into VTubing was when I got cancer the second time. So I'm a 2-time cancer survivor.
Gosh.
And but the second time I got cancer, I ended up with some immune problems because that was leukemia. So now I have I got a transplant, so it's not the worst for me, but I still am a bit immunocompromised. So it's better for me to work from home than to work in a place where I'm constantly in contact with different people. So that's when I decided to start really leaning into VTubing, because I was like, well, now I don't have as many work options. I might as well just kind of drop everything and lean into this and see how far I can take it.
I wanted to talk to you more about cancer. I don't want to appear insensitive or anything about asking you questions about a very sensitive topic.
I'm an open book. You feel free to ask whatever you'd like.
How was it? I couldn't imagine finding out from the doctor telling you got cancer. It's just it sounds scary to me, how did that go?
For me, it was a little different than I expected. I thought, if I ever got that sort of news, whenever you see people getting that news, it's always so devastating. But to me, it wasn't really that devastating.
Really?
But at the time, I didn't really have a whole lot of connections. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't really have a big social life. I wasn't really happy with the point that I was at in life, and I was struggling trying to figure things out. So at the end of the day, it was more like I was already kind of depressed.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, oh, okay, I don't give a shit. But
wow.
Yeah, so it ended up, for me, it was almost in some ways a relief. Because it allowed me to say, okay, I have a legitimate reason to take a break from college without my parents yelling at me. And I have a legitimate reason to start being like, okay, I need to take care of myself before worrying about all this other superficial stuff.
I see.
And yeah, so it's that in that sense, it was a relief. It wasn't all fun and games, it wasn't.
Yeah, you kind of have to face death and in person, you're facing death, right? It's kind of scary, right? You don't know what's on the other side, or if that was me, I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, and the part that really affected me was when there was a point when I was I ended up being in the hospital for 3 days on what could have been my deathbed. The doctors ended up doing what they needed and taking care of things, and I ended up being fine. But what hit me about those 3 days is the fact that I was there for 3 days in that sort of condition, and I didn't get any visitors or any calls or anything. And that kind of woke me up to wow, I need to build my support system, because I don't want to be that person sitting at the end of my life with just nobody there.
It's kind of like a wake up call.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy. I wouldn't know what to do if that was my situation. As someone who's not really old, I guess I'm almost middle aged, but I don't often think about death. It doesn't usually I don't usually confront it. I just wake up every day and thinking like, oh, there's gonna be another day, like, you know, like
Mhm.
I'm gonna log in Genshin and I'm gonna get my primos and stuff or whatever.
I mean,
You know,
to be
like it's
honest,
always
most days it was like that for me too, because this happened when I was 21. And it was, you know, I'd wake up every day and it would be the same thing. Like, okay, I'm just gonna distract myself with video games and not even think about it.
Caper says, thank you for sharing your story with everyone.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think about, like, being in a situation where you don't know if you're gonna, like, your life will end or if you're gonna continue. What do you think, Hugh? Like,
I mean, yeah, it's sometimes it's difficult for a lot of people to come to terms with death. Just sort of the idea of not existing scares them. Like, you won't be able to make an impact on the world if you're not here, and that's sort of a big part of people's lives, is trying to make an impact on others.
Yep.
And Putty Putty said, big respect for Sam for still working hard and building himself up.
Thank you.
Do you think that I don't want to like circle back to the subject, but like, do you think that martial arts kind of help you like cope with it, or like, did that happen like way later or something?
That happened later, but I would say it still played a part, because it there were things that I had to think about other than the cancer when I was there, and martial arts was one of the things, you know, that was one of the times where I really sat down and looked into different martial arts and expanded my knowledge. And so, yeah, I would say it played a role in, I guess, distracting me from the idea that I was dying.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about like what's your personal opinion about what happens when we die? I don't know if that's
Yeah, no, that's fine. I basically, I don't think anything happens after we die. I think that so I go with kind of two different thoughts on this. I have basically, based on the knowledge that we have, I have no reason to believe anything happens after we die. But I also then take inspiration from my ancestors, from the Celts, and I look at how they looked at things, and then I see dying as a transition into a new stage of life. And in terms of when you die, you become the stories that are told about you, and those stories continue to grow.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's kind of how I look at it now.
I think that's a good way to look at it. You know, make a legend of yourself while you're still alive, I guess.
Yep.
What's your opinion on death, Hugh?
I mean, I'm more of the consciousness dissipates after you die kind of person, because I mean, we don't really have anything to say, but I do also agree with the point that sort of when you die, you become the stories that are told about you, because that's sort of the only way you live on, is from memories of other people. And like, if those memories disappear, did you ever really exist?
Yeah, I think about like, well, when I think about death, which isn't often, right? I don't know how to say it. Like, what was that? Was I satisfied at the end? Like, was that what I did throughout my life? Was it like worth it? Like, when I reached that part where like my life is almost over, did I do everything I could to be like a good person? Or I don't know. Yep. Like, I guess it doesn't even need to be like a good person. It's just like, did I live my life to the fullest? Was the game's almost over? Did I do it? Did I unlock all the achievements? You know, like I don't know. Like, what's the point of, like, if you think about death, like you kind of like think about like what the point of life is, you know.
Mhm.
Like if you think about like it's not forever, it's not eternal, then why are we here? Like what's our
Mhm.
kind of purpose, you know?
Yeah,
It,
if
it
On
goes
sort
there.
of if death is an end, why don't we think about the journey through?
Hmm.
Sort
Mhm.
of why think about the end only?
Right.
Well, and like the way I put it is that because I have, for me, I had the opposite of a come to Jesus moment when I was going through this stuff.
Hmm.
When because I was raised Catholic and I had a lot of Christian influences growing up.
Hmm.
And through the cancer experience, and the more I learned, the more I studied, I that's one of the things that I do a lot. I like to study different things, and I like studying religions. And the more and more I studied, the more I realized, okay, this is all just BS.
Hmm.
And so then what I came to realize is that like the reason we're here is defined by ourselves.
See.
Um, and so like for me, I define myself as a storyteller,
Hmm.
and it manifests itself in different ways. You know, that's why I'm in the entertainment industry. You can tell stories through movies, through video games, through VTubing, anything like that. But at the end of the day, that's what I define myself as a storyteller, and
Hmm.
passing on messages that help other people understand the human experience.
It's a good way to look at it. Yeah,
Mhm.
storyteller. We got some comments from the chat here. Freya said, I mean, we'll die one day or another. Might as well make the best out of every day because any day could
Mhm.
be your last breath. Caper said, I don't think there's a higher purpose to life. Um, wait, where was it? I don't think there's a higher purpose to life. So I just try to have a good time while I'm here.
Yep.
Zeed said, do what you like and love. Enjoy every day as it was your last. No one's going to last forever. So better enjoy your life the way you like it. Uh,
Mhm.
Pudding said, I don't think there's a point in our life or existence that doesn't have to be bad. It's more
Right.
freeing than we may think. We can exist and live without fulfilling anything. So you could just be you.
Mhm.
That's true too. I mean, you don't have to like fulfill anything. You just gotta
Right.
like,
I mean, I think the purpose in life, there is a purpose in life, and that's to
mhm.
find your own purpose.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. Do we need a purpose though? Like, I mean, like if we never achieved anything, we never like did anything like
I, yeah, I
noteworthy.
would.
Would that be a wasted life? You think?
Well,
No.
this goes back to a phrase I like to quote commonly. If you enjoyed the time you wasted, was it truly wasted time?
Oh yeah. Paper said
Yeah.
deep talk night. Very deep shock therapy tonight. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm enjoying it so far. Like it is really
Yeah.
nice, good talks here.
Yeah.
You're saying? You're
Yeah,
saying,
I
Sam?
would say it like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter in terms of do we need to have a purpose or not? No, we don't. But a lot of people find it hard to exist without some sort of purpose. So that's why I usually, say to people that, if you find your own purpose in life, that's really the key to getting past that little hurdle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Prayer is opening up my existential crisis at night. Existential crisis. We all have it. We only have one life, I guess. Like make the most of it. Be the best you can be, or not. It's up to you. Yeah.
I'd rather be the best someone else I can be.
The best someone else? Can you explain? What does that mean?
I won't be the best me. I'll be the best at trying to be someone else.
Ah.
That
For
was a
example.
joke.
Someone else. Yeah. Deep talks.
Mhm.
Well, let me think of a question. Do you have a question for me or Hugh here? Sam? Yeah.
When did you guys get into VTubing, and what was that like?
I started.
got.
I could go
Oh,
first
you
then.
can go
Yeah.
first. No, you can go first.
Okay. I started VTubing like this November. Like it hasn't even been a year.
Mhm.
So I wasn't really a big fan of VTubing, to be honest. Unlike some VTubers, they're like, oh, I love like a Hololive or whatever. Like I wasn't like I was super casual. But I was really into like this app, this Japanese app where you kind of like stream and talk to people. And I kind of thought that this would be like, and then I heard about VTubing. I was like, oh, it's kind of like that app. And I had a friend who used to be in that app, and she's a VTuber now. And it kind of inspired me to kind of do the same. And yeah, and
Cool.
I made this. And then you were saying, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. I got into it probably over the summer. I once again also was like super casual about it. I didn't really care for VTubing. And I was at that point streaming without a face cam. It was just sort of audio and gameplay.
Mhm.
And one of my friends suggested as a joke that I started to that I should get into VTubing. And so also as a joke, I created a VTuber model, and now we're here.
That's great. Yeah. How do you guys enjoy? How do you guys like VTubing so far? Do you think you've been like you're being successful in what you're trying to achieve, or?
I've learned a lot over my time trying to VTube, and it's helped me figure out a lot about where my skills lie. And it's definitely been more of a challenge than I hoped, but it also has been there have been things that have just happened better than my expectations. So it's a little bit of both.
I would say that my experience has been pretty good. I mean, I have learned a little bit. I think the most important thing that I learned is that VTubing is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of positive, a little bit of negative learning. But yeah, I've pretty much enjoyed it so far.
What do you guys think is like the biggest obstacle, like aside from just, we mentioned money? What do you think is like the biggest obstacle to like small VTubers like us?
I would say it falls between dealing with anxiety and trying to find your reach. Because I've met so many really awesome people in VTubing that just don't get the reach. And, it's like waiting for that one day when the spark hits and all of a sudden you get 20 people and then it's like, okay, now we're moving. But yeah, so I would say that it's a battle between anxiety and reach.
I see. How about you, Hugh? What do you think is like the biggest obstacle for us?
Yeah, I'd say getting your reach is also a part of sort of branching out in terms of like being more social is probably one of the biggest obstacles for VTubing. A lot of people have, especially when it comes to like collabs and stuff. Like a lot of people don't have enough confidence in themselves to reach out to other people to start a collab, or to get those plans rolling to start a collab. It's sort of like a lot of the trouble comes from social anxiety for a lot of people.
That's true. I think, yeah, like you guys said, anxiety and just I guess what's it called? Like the resources, the money and stuff. I think time zones play a big part. Like for me, having like Japan time zone is like really, really inconvenient. Unless you could speak Japanese, which I can't. I can speak a little bit. Yeah. But like not like stream it, my time zone is like really frustrating. Like it's hard to collab with anyone because like everyone's either in America or like somewhere far, you know.
Mhm.
But I have built a pretty good community of Filipinos and Southeast Asians because in the
Nice.
Philippines they could speak pretty good English, you know, and
Mhm.
I guess that's my niche now. Yeah,
Gonna start growing, get more popular than Kobo.
Yeah, what's Kobo?
Kobo, she's a VTuber from Indonesia that
Oh,
recently popped off.
oh, nice Kobo. I don't.
Mm.
I'm not caught up with anything.
No, you're fine.
Like with V2, the only like two like VTubers I know is Garagura and Kizuna Ai. And Kizuna Ai doesn't even V2 anymore. It's kind of sad. Southeast Asian gang, let's get it. And Rinwa's here. Hey Rinwa, how you doing? Welcome to Shock Therapy. We got really awesome guests tonight. You guys, chat, if you have any questions for our guests, feel free to type it. You know, like we're gonna ask it. I'm starting to run out of questions. Gotta be honest. Let's see. What kind of like streams do you do, Sam? I've only watched a few where you kind of reacted to like martial arts videos. Do you do anything? Do you play any games or like any kind of like things you enjoy on stream?
Yeah, I haven't done much of that yet because I stream off of a laptop, and this doesn't have the best because it's only got one core processor, so it can't really do much. But the things that I do play games on my own, and I play games on other people's streams. Like I've played Among Us, I've played Jackbox games. Once I'm able to get my own PC set up, I'll probably be doing a lot of RPGs as well, and maybe some fighting games. So that's kind of where my niche is. But I also do streams like talking about current events and talking about history and things like that. And like I said, I'm a variety streamer, so it's one of those things where if anybody throws me an idea and I can rig something up for it, I'll probably do it, because at the end of the day, I want to I've got such a broad wealth of knowledge on so many different subjects, because I have ADHD, that you could give me pretty much any topic and I could make something on it. So I want to, kind of share with people the things that they want to learn about, because that's kind of how I learned about things.
Do you think that gaming streams are like overrated? Do you think it's like a dying art? Because from my experience, like I feel like my art streams get a lot more views than my gaming streams. And
definitely, yeah. I would say it depends. For smaller streamers, I think gaming streams are fine because it's a good opportunity for them to kind of communicate with chat. But once you become like a bigger streamer and it's hard to keep track of all the stuff that's coming in, then it's better to have more content that's kind of unique. And if you've got like a really fun personality, then game streaming might still be successful for you. But yeah, it's definitely not something to lean on too heavily if you're trying to get into VTubing. Don't just think you're gonna play games all day and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, because I've been looking at my gaming streams. They're not doing so well, but I consider myself a pretty good gamer. Like in Dark Souls, I like almost like get the strategy going really quick. But I guess it's just like for a lot of people, it's just not very interesting to watch a guy play Dark Souls. in 2023. You know,
Yep.
and there's not a lot of chat going on either. And if there is, like, I'm kind of distracted. You know, like I'll be playing the game and there'd be a boss fight. Someone says, "Hi, Rocky." I'm like, okay, I can't really read that right now. You know, so I kind of prefer like the chill art streams and just like, you know, just talking. 'Cause you gotta like talk with your fans in a more like relaxed environment, I guess.
Yeah. And like some of my favorite streams end up being gaming streams, but yeah, it is when the person is paying more attention to chat when they are to the game. And it's like, okay, they're usually doing poorly, but it's just fun to sit and talk and hang out.
Right. Hold on. There's a battery thing. Hugh, why don't you talk to Sam for a bit? I gotta plug my computer.
Okay. I don't know really what to talk about.
What is your favorite era in history? Do you have one?
Oh, I don't really study up on history. I'd say that if we're talking American history, I would say the Roaring 20s. It's pretty fun time for Americans to be alive.
Nice. Yeah, for me, it would probably be, I always say like medieval times, but at the same time, because there's so much that's interesting about the society there, but at the same time, I feel like if I were thrown in that society, I would not like it at all.
Right. Because there is a lot of luxuries now in modern times exist back then.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. Like, I don't know what happened to my laptop. I have it plugged in, but it wasn't charging. And it just says battery saver turned on, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I sent a leprechaun to go unplug your computer.
Why is it not charging? I don't understand. Okay. Let's just hope that the stream doesn't like suddenly die. Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't charging. Oh, anyways, it looks like it's charging now.
That's good.
Yeah, just like I don't understand why it wasn't charging. Sorry, guys. We're yeah. If the stream suddenly got cut off, it's because of that.
Gotcha. Whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Let's see. I'm thinking of another question. I'm not a very good host.
No, you're fine.
Maybe there's something in the charging port. Maybe everything looks like they're in order. I'm just not sure what the heck's going on. The battery says it's plugged in, but it's just not charging. Oh, now it is. I guess like the thing is loose or something. So yeah. Let's see. Here's a question. Do you feel like this has been going around like VTubing communities, I guess? Do you feel like as male VTubers we have like a disadvantage or something?
I would say generally from my impressions, yes. In terms of getting instant success and instant reach, it's a little harder for guys to create that draw. But in terms of when you start talking about comparing skill to skill VTubers that are successful, I think it takes a little longer for guys to build a following, but it's not necessarily more of a challenge. Because it all comes back to like the really successful VTubers aren't successful because they're have the sexiest models and all that kind of stuff. Although sometimes that's the case, but usually not. So that's kind of where I would say is like if you're starting off, there's definitely a discrepancy, but as you get further in, it starts to even out.
I see. I never really like understood like lewd tubing and like what do you feel about like you know, like lewd tubing and trying to like use your character for for like that kind of how do you feel about that? Do you think it's like it's kind of unfair for when people do that, or do you think it's like a legit thing that people like?
I think it's legit. I do understand it does feel unfair to some people, and I do understand why that would be. But also it's its own little niche. Because there's a lot of lewd tubers out there that know exactly what their goals are and what they're trying to do, and they're not trying to be something other than that. Right. It's when you have someone who's trying to be something else. They're trying to, you know, be a variety streamer or this or that, and they, but they lean so heavily on the lewdness that it, you know, it takes away from everything else. Right. So I think it can be a problem, but I don't think by itself, I don't think it's an issue. I just see it as another part of life. We are attracted by those things, and you know, lewd tubers are there to provide that sort of service. And it's not just girls. There are guy lewd tubers as well, and it's the same thing for them, where they provide a sort of companionship and well, not really companionship, but they provide a sort of thing that not everybody really gets in everyday life, and so I think that's that has value. It's just we need to be responsible with how we you know, how we do that.
Yeah, I think there's sort of a distinction to be drawn there between like leaning on versus accepting. Like if you're leaning heavily on something, you sort of you're being something that you're not, and you're just using it as a crutch. Versus accepting it, you sort of know that it's your niche, and you work hard to ensure that like it's your niche and it's like something other stuff like that.
Yeah. Would you guys like do it?
Of course not. No, not in a million years. I'm era race, so that sort of stuff has been far from me.
Well, like, what if it pays well? Would you do it? Like, you get like really popular super fast.
I don't think I would. Depends on what your definition of pay well is, but usually no.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
For me, I wouldn't really either. Like I've thought about like having my model touched up, and you know, in terms of looks, like improving looks a little bit, but not in terms of that. And I would probably say if it were to be something like that, it would take somebody paying me like $1 million before I'd be like, okay, I'll do this.
I don't think I'd feel comfortable, like, because I made my avatar, like my model myself. Like I rigged it and I did all the concepts, and like I kind of like did everything. So like I feel like if I lewd my baby, I just wouldn't be comfortable with it, you know? Like,
yeah, I get what you mean. Yep.
Like I built up the lore and all that, and no, I feel like it would kind of throw it all away if I do that. Like the whole integrity of the character, I feel like.
At the same time, though, I do like to be a little open in terms of like topics like that. In terms of talking about stuff like that, so I don't generally consider myself a say-so streamer, even though I would say that probably most of my content is family friendly. I like to show people that it's okay to have interests in these sorts of things, that it's okay to express yourself in these ways, and that, and to show a positive example of ways you can do that without kind of making a fool of yourself, or going, and getting in trouble and stuff like that. There's so I try to set a good example and show people kind of a balanced life.
Right. Speaking of lore, what's your lore, Sam? Why are you a mongoose? Like, what's the whole story with this?
Well, I am the Grand Sentinel of the Mongoose clan. And basically what a sentinel is they watch over the clan and they protect the clan. They sound the alarm. They're the ones that run out when there's enemies. And so that's kind of my role. But to go even deeper than that, there is a multiverse here that incorporates all VTubers. That's why you get all these different types of people. You've got, cat VTubers, you've got, regular people, you've got alien VTubers, all this sorts of stuff. It's because we're all coming from different universes. And so what my job is I work to with a secret agency that helps to keep those lines of communication between the multiverse open so we can continue to do this.
Oh, wow.
And so from my world, I'm from a Celtic, a society that's very similar to Celtic society on Earth, or what I call as like the what's the term that I've used for it before? But Earth is like the receiver planet. That all
like a
the
host
information.
planet.
Yep. That's right. That hosts all this stuff, and so that's where I draw the connection. But yeah, we're over here. We're all mongooses.
Nice. Is it mongooses or mongoose?
It's actually the technical plural of mongoose is mongoosin.
Mongoosin. I wouldn't have thought of that. Mongoosin. Wow.
You can also say mongooses. That one you might find more readily on, like, if you look it up. But technically, it is mongoosin. En.
Mongoosin. It's not mongoose sai, like nope. Octopi. Dude, plurals are weird, man.
Yep.
Mongoose sounds funny. Caper said. Freya said, hire me for a 1 minute VTuber lore that came out of my 3 a.m. thoughts. She said, Rocky lewd tuber lore. Since the Thunder God could not make money because of ordinary means, he decided to go for other means. That's my lore. Like, I decided to, like, quit being a Thunder God and VTube. But after I made that lore, I realized that almost every VTuber has, like, the same lore. Like, I used to be a demon king until I saw Kizuna Eye and I was inspired to be a VTuber or something. It's like just the very typical trope lore for most VTubers. But it's too late to change it now.
I will say that two of my greatest influences in terms of really pushing me to get into VTubing, well, I should say there's three. The first one would be probably Gawagura,
yes.
because that when I started VTubing, she was kind of the VTuber that I watched a lot and learned a lot from.
Me too. I love her.
The second I would say is I'll say Pikami, because for the longest time it was her positivity that really not just helped me on a personal level, but showed me how much that can affect other people. And so I really respected her for that. and then the third one is a VTuber, which not many people here may have heard of, but he goes by Kero Gemu.
Kero Game.
And yep, and they're a frog VTuber, and they're basically the person that he got me kind of. He was the one that kind of gave me the extra push I needed to really get moving on this.
Did you know him like personally? Did you interact with him or?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's
yeah.
good.
I know them. Yeah, I know him personally.
Yeah, that's like my story too. Like the one that really got me to VTubing. It's like a VTuber I interacted with.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of where it comes from. But with all of that, I would still say my VTuber Oshi is Hakos Bales.
Hakos what? I'm sorry, I don't know any.
Hakos Bales. She's another VTuber from the group that Gargura is in.
Mm-hmm.
She's a rat VTuber.
Oh, the one with the red hair?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know her. She's like the Chaos one or something?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, the one with the ponytails?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. My friend likes her too. Yeah. I rarely watch VTubers. It's kind of sad to call myself a VTuber.
No, it's
yeah.
It's you'd be surprised. There's lots of VTubers that don't necessarily have a lot of time to watch.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that lore is important when it comes to VTubing? You think that's
I don't.
You don't?
No, I think it depends on what you're going for.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good idea. I like lore. A lot of people like interacting with lore, but I wouldn't say it's a necessity though.
I don't know. I feel I'm the type of person who really enjoy like the role play. You know?
Yeah.
Like I recently got really into like wrestling because I kind of get it now, like pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. Because like there's a story involved in it. Like when I was a kid, I kind of found it lame, like wrestling, because oh god, it's fake, guys, it's fake. But but now that I'm an adult, I kind of like embrace like the kayfabe, you know, like that.
Yep.
I know it's fake, but it's kind of like a whole fantasy thing where you kind of get involved with the drama, even though it's fake. It's interesting, you know. And that's how I feel about VTubing. I feel like lore adds a lot to the personality of the character, you know.
Absolutely.
Like,
I mean, yeah, but like also in that sense, if your lore can have a negative impact on you. If like your lore is that like you're super angry and strong, and then you start up your stream and you're really like meek.
Yeah,
I'd say you have your lore working against you there.
Like
not the best thing.
Like those 100 demon lord guys that says I'm the demon lord of this fantasy world, and you tune into their stream and it's like, hi guys, how you guys doing?
Yeah, it's like,
welcome to my stream.
I am the most evil, most powerful god in all of existence.
But I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing. It's kind of funny if you think about it. Like, oh, it's the lore kind of adds to that still, you know, if you think about it. Like, hey, that's the demon lord who acts like he's a nice guy. Right. I don't know. It's just like a little extra thing, and I appreciate it. If you think of a lore for your character, I wouldn't think bad of it. I would say, thank you. That's great. You know. But I agree that you don't need it. You don't necessarily need it, but it adds to it. It's an additive thing, I feel. Adds flavor.
MSG.
It adds flavor. I've reached the age when I just really like when people like get into things, like get into like fantasy and stories and stuff. When I was a kid, I always found it boring. I was like, okay, stop talking. Like I like when somebody like explains their like original story, I'm like, can we get through it? I don't want to listen. And now that I'm older and I have more time, I'm like, hey, keep going. This is interesting. What's this character? What does this monster do? How does this interact with this? And I feel like, I cherish that a lot more now. Like, I actually like when I play games, like I read like character descriptions. When I play Dark Souls, I look at like the item descriptions. I don't need to look at them. Like Dark Souls doesn't require you to read it, like all the lore stuff. But like, I take the time to read the lore stuff because I'm crazy. Said, well, she said, wow, you guys got consistent lore. Can't relate. Yeah. What are you saying?
I was just going to say that in Skyrim, I was the person that ended up in the house that I would have in Skyrim. I just have tons of bookshelves because that's all I would do is I just collect all the books I could find.
Yeah.
And it's like here's this high fantasy game where you can do all this cool stuff, and I'm a librarian.
Lore is interesting. Like back then, like I said, when I was a kid, like I would like write stuff, and like I would exchange like my writing stuff to my friends, and we were like exchange stories and stuff, and I would never enjoy like reading their work. Like I was kind of selfish. Like I was like interested in my story this, my story that. Like when I provide feedback, I just give like grammar tips and stuff. And here you go. But now I like sort of get into it. Like oh, this character is pretty interesting. I love this one, even though they're just like drafts and stuff and they're not finished yet. I like get really into it.
And I think that also comes with confidence too. When we get more comfortable with our own ideas, it makes it easier for us to think less about, oh, what do you think about my idea? And it allows us to appreciate other people's ideas more, because then we no longer feel like we're competing with them. Right.
And sometimes I feel bad when like people stop working on the project that they're working on. Like, oh, what happens to this guy? What happens to this character? Why'd you stop?
Yeah.
And they're like, I give up. Like, oh no. It's like a whole world just got destroyed, if you think about it. Like it could have been like an anime or something. I don't know. It could have been something.
I've definitely had a few moments where I was like, okay, I'm gonna call it. But I have a rule for myself now. Whenever I kind of get into those situations, I always say, all right, we're gonna take a step away from Twitter and all of that for a day, and we're gonna get some sleep, and we're gonna come back and think about this.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, I've hit like a really bad like I don't know if you could call it like artist block. It's both an artist block and a writer's block at the same time, where like I've just not been creative at all lately. Like I don't know what to draw, I don't know what to write. I've been thinking of starting a project where I'll work on something huge before the advent of AI. Like a last creative effort before like this becomes like worthless. I just don't know what to do. Right. I kind of want to do like a comic book or something, but I know it's gonna be hard as heck, and I probably won't be able to stream anymore if I do.
I'm just imagining like way in the future when everything's taken care of by AI. It's like we're going to a museum and it's like the last inspired artwork by a human being, and it's just like a trash bag hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah. It's gonna be kind of sad. Here we are again, the AI talk. I always get sad when we talk about that. What's your opinion on that? Did you come to terms with it?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, really?
But part of it's because I have a little bit of understanding of how that system works. And it really isn't true AI yet.
Yeah, it's more like algorithms, right?
Yeah. And it is iterative learning, but it's iterative learning right now is bounded because you have to put in certain parameters, otherwise there's nothing for it to learn. And so it's there's really no way that we've been able to find out to create unbounded variables so that something can just learn on its own.
Did they really steal from like artists?
Yeah, they did. For the art stuff, it wasn't.
That's my only real problem with it, really. Like, I don't mind it. Like I don't care if like you make art kind of easy. Like, I'm not like an elitist where you say you can't do art, you never trained for it. I don't care about that. But my only like biggest problem with AI right now is that they steal from artists without permission.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily use the word steal because it wasn't like an intentional act. But it was just that they had access to all these images, and this is the images that the program learned from. And so I'm on both sides of the fence with this one, really, because when I look at it, now I would say, now if we're talking about a human being and we learn from looking at examples, this is exactly the same way we would learn. We would take in these examples and we'd pick up little pieces of the things that we like. And so from that standpoint, I have to say that like this is how you would learn. But from the other standpoint, I understand why people have issues with it, because then you can just say, hey, make a picture like this person. And
yeah, I don't like that. The fact that they could copy a style, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, which is why like I've talked about before with people about how they should just have these set up with certain databases where instead of just having access to all art, you have these databases where people can submit art and be like, hey, I'd like my art to be part of your learning profile. Or like they could even do something.
There definitely needs to be laws like implemented. Like,
right.
That's my like only real gripe about it, honestly. Like they need to be responsible about like the art that they take. Like when they start like taking from people, like replacing like a style, like a whole style from somebody, like that's kind of like, I don't know, it gives me like, it feels wrong, because that's like a style somebody worked on, I guess it's like let's say like you could just implant, like for me, like for martial arts, for example, like you've been working on your own like style of fighting, your own martial art for like the longest time, and then somebody could just like download what you've been doing. And it feels weird. It's like an expression of your soul,
Yeah. Right. From a teaching standpoint, though, I'd love it just to be like, hey, instead of like having to buy a building and have the space to train people, I could just sell people freaking flash drives and be like, hey,
cyberpunk.
I mean, taking someone's style with AI art is pretty much art theft, but sort of masked. I mean, it's you're taking someone's style and like everything that they've worked on, and like you're just putting it to something different. It'd be no different from basically taking someone's art and calling it your own.
Right.
It's basically it's bastardizing the art form.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of sad, like the first before AI, like you could just like, oh, that this art is drawn by this guy, like you kind of like you could kind of like tell who drew it based on like the little stylistic choices in the art piece, like this is this guy's signature style or whatever. But now you gotta think twice, like this is actually AI. It didn't really do this, and it's kind of weird.
There's one interesting thing about AI art that I think should never be changed. And that's, we should never teach AI how to draw 5 fingers.
I mean that's a huge thing that like a lot of artists struggle with hands and fingers, and for AI to struggle with it, it's sort of a down to earth moment.
I have a
Yep.
plan, guys. I have a plan. Guys, listen. From now on, I'm gonna draw all my hands bad. So like when the AI take my art, they'll never learn how to draw good hands.
So every time I draw bad hands, it's just to confuse AIs.
Yes.
That's it. I'm
Yeah,
totally not
yeah,
bad
yeah.
at drawing hands. No, it's to confuse AIs in the future.
Yes, guys, it's to confuse AI, guys. That's why my hands are bad, guys.
Yeah, submit more crappy art.
That's the plan all along. It was part of the plan. That's why my hands look like that. Man, AI, man, we live in the future, and the future's scary.
Mhm.
It's not just AI anymore. Freaking poetry. Poetry. I like poetry. We
Or
got
like,
AI writing poetry. What the heck?
Or like now we have freaking independent companies having their own space stations and like doing space fabrication. Like stuff is advancing fast.
It's advancing fast. Yeah. Might be a good idea for a story, guys. AI stuff is very relevant to the modern age.
I've
Yeah.
actually have a couple of stories that I've worked on that incorporate AI.
Oh, really?
And yeah, there's one that I actually wrote as a 13 part series because it was originally meant as a TV series. And it basically tackles a lot of the questions about what does it mean to be human, and what does it mean to be a robot. And there's this character that's an android, and it basically becomes this question of where does artificial end and genuine begin, and
that's
it's like
interesting.
because even because with the most advanced technology, you're looking at a robot that but this robot has organic parts because they've had organic parts grown in a lab. They
Like replicants from Blade Runner.
And it's like, so there's so much about this being that is human. They react to stimuli. They understand the world around them, and it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, they're a machine. But it's like, well, what are silicone-based life forms? You could say, that's and so it's like,
that's a good idea for a story. Yeah. Those questions, I like to think about those questions a lot. Like, what makes it human? Even now with this quote unquote AI that we're dealing with now, like let's say like the AI like stuff like just takes over most jobs. What are we left with? What will we value now other than labor? What do you think?
I think one of the first things people are going to go to is art.
Still art?
And and I think that will become increasingly more valuable as people that can create art that's genuine and unique. But eventually we're going to hit a point where it's just going to be one of those things where we're going to have to decide for ourselves, what role we want to play in society. And then we're probably going to end up just saying, okay, we're going to block out AI from this part of society so that we have our little niche as human beings.
Because someone told me like, we're never ever gonna run out of jobs because like AI needs maintenance. And then I'm like, so like in the future, like we're all gonna be AI maintenance people. Like what happened? Because I think the way society works now, especially in the West, like in America, like you first meet somebody, oh, what do you do? What do you do? Like what kind of job are you doing? Like I think that's like a big part of society that just will suddenly change because like, a lot of that will be replaced by AI now, right?
Mhm. Well, and another thing is we might start integrating with technology as well, and going more towards like having cyborgs and things like that.
Oh wow, like cyberpunk.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the future's coming, guys.
Yep.
Future.
The question is, are we going to destroy the Earth before we get there?
I kind of want to go back to the past, like before all this stuff. I want to go back to like the 90s or something.
Well, and it's weird to think, like, for me, to think that if we continue in the way that we're going right now as humans, the world that will be left for even like my grandkids will not be an Earth that's very habitable.
Right.
Because of how much we've done to the environment and how little we're doing to correct it. And the funny thing is a lot of people keep, trying to defend themselves and being like, oh, we're not actually damaging the environment that much. What people don't realize is most of the damage to the environment happened in the industrial age.
Right.
They just screwed it up that much.
It's too late, yeah.
And it's not that it's too late. There's things that we can do now, but until people recognize and admit, okay, we need to do something,
it's
too
profitable, to mess the world up. A lot of people don't want to give up their money.
I mean, it's like, it's not that you're not harming the environment, you have to help the environment. Or otherwise we'll just continue downwards into this. I mean, the Earth in the future is either going to be one of two things. It's at this point with AI going and climate change, it's either going to be an apocalyptic wasteland or it's going to be robot overlords, and that's like the two major futures I can foresee.
Well, and another thing I say to people a lot too is when you talk about like, oh, things, this isn't hurting the Earth. We're not, we're not damaging the Earth. And it's one of the things I say is that the Earth will be here long after we are. The Earth, if you think of the Earth as an entity that experiences things, it doesn't give a crap about us. So the Earth in the past was an ice ball, it was a fireball, it was, it's been all these different things, and it's still here. But the question is, are we still going to be here? And what are we leaving for the people that follow us? Because I wouldn't want my grandkids to have to live in a world where they have to constantly wear respirators or whatever else. And I wouldn't want to thrust the sort of decision on people where they'd have to decide, well, do we figure out how do we get to another planet, or do we just die out here? Those are the types of things that you never want people to have to go through.
Right. I guess humans as a species, like, they don't really like think of the long term of anything. It's really bad for like us to think about the future. Like, look, like in politics right now, when you see like someone running for like the Green Party or whatever, like the environmental party, they're kind of seen as like jokes. Like like they're not being really taken seriously. Like, oh, they're better like things to talk about than this thing. Like, let's talk about immigration or whatever. Never about the environment.
They're seen as a joke, even though like quote unquote there's better stuff to talk about, when there isn't better stuff to talk about. The environment's like the most important thing to talk about in the first place.
Well, and like one of the sad things is what really caused that issue is media. And one of the things I'm very critical about is journalists. Because when they started discovering things about the environment that weren't quite going right and things that we might need to fix, it wasn't the scientists who came out and had articles that everybody saw. The articles that everybody saw were these sensationalized bullshit articles written by journalists, and then people read these articles and they looked at them critically and they're like, this doesn't make sense. Oh, this is all a lie. Well, the reason it didn't make sense is because the journalists didn't have a clue what they were talking about. But the scientists did. But it's not the scientists who were heard.
Yeah, it's I guess also like another thing that plays a part in it is like it doesn't make for good like it's like everyone knows the Earth is dying, right? Like the people like won't report it because like, oh, okay, there's other things to talk about. This thing we can't really help this thing, the Earth dying.
Well, at the end of the day, it's it really is a governmental thing, so it doesn't. So in terms of the little guy talking about it, it doesn't really pay that much. I mean, it's not really worth that much. How people can affect this, the best way they can do it is by contacting their representatives and researching issues for themselves and bringing these issues up and continuing to bring them up and not stopping until we annoy the shit out of these government people to the point where they're like, okay.
But like we can do that, we can annoy the heck out of them, but like they're getting paid by all these big companies who don't want to stop polluting the earth. Like who they're gonna listen to? Like you who keep annoying them, like they could just like mute you or something, but they'll still receive all this like bribe money from all these companies. You know, like all, like the bottle companies that make these like freaking bottles. Was it Nestle who goes into like these third world countries and steal their water? You know?
I mean, hey, that's
they'll
also
keep doing it.
That's also a reason to run for office yourself. Be one of the be different. Don't be one of the people that's bought out by money.
Like, will I be that incorruptible? Like, I think about that myself. Like about like being in power. Like, when I think about it, will I be incorruptible? Like right now, for sure. Like I'll be idealistic and maybe like I'll change the world. But like, well, once you're in like the circle of politics, you're being presented with real cash. You know, like all this power.
Well, and there's also lots of threats. And so the way I see it going is like, if I were to go into office and try to be in the government, I would end up getting killed because I would not stand down from the things that I believed in.
And to actually make a difference, you kind of have to play it smart. You gotta kind of compromise, right? Like you can't just say I'm gonna like disagree with everything you say, because like you'll still not get anything done. Because the way like politics works, you kind of have to like play along for a bit, even if you do have good intentions, right? It's kind of hard. Like just money has a lot of power in general. Like it's like it's hard to make changes, right?
Another thing I think is an issue though is when you get really old people in office, because as people get older, there's tons of things that we cut off from old people. At a certain point, old people aren't really allowed to drive, and we take so many other decisions from them as they get older because of what happens with our brains as we get older. Our brains start to deteriorate a little bit. But yet we get people that are freaking, in their 70s or whatever, still in office.
Right. And they tend to be a lot more conservative too, like with their decisions. Also, they don't really care about the future because they,
Right. They don't care about the future. And
they care about social security.
And they want to see as little change as possible. And that's, I mean, obviously that's an overgeneralization, but there needs to be a point where we can say, okay, it's like, all right, we've got all these people in office that are this old. Okay, boomer, it's your time, and it's like, there needs to be a point where we can say no. You've passed the age of having a vested interest in society.
Right. Yeah. Don't you ever wonder about like that? This kind of thought like came into my mind, like the person you're gonna be in the future.
Mhm.
Like for example, like right now you have certain beliefs that you believe in. That don't you ever think about like your future self, like what kind of person they're gonna be? Like when we get old, will we be like the boomers that we're talking about?
Yeah, I already see that happening to myself a little bit in some ways. I think it's important to think about that because it also then gives me perspective to say, okay, even though I look at this and I, find it absolutely BS, I understand the role that it plays for younger people. So, like a good example of this would be Fortnite. I absolutely detest Fortnite, but I see what the effect it has in the social realm for people, for younger people. So it's in that respect I don't I don't rat on it so much.
Yeah. What else can we talk about? Wait. This is a really deep episode of Shock Therapy tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Really deep. So, how's life for you in general? How you doing in general? You mentioned like back when you had cancer, you were kind of lonely and stuff. How's it looking for you now? Like, did you make that support system now? Or?
A little bit, yeah. Not as much as I had hoped, but I moved and I found an area that had a little more going on. And so now I've got a little bit more of a social life, and I've got people that around me that I can depend on. So that's changed, and it's
that's good.
Become a different life. It's where I was when I first got cancer. I had a lot more security because I was living with my parents. So like now I'm basically living month to month. But that's because I get pretty much all my income comes from the government right now because I'm on disability, and I can't really do other jobs. So, and that ends up not paying a whole lot. So like at the end of the month, I'll generally end up owing someone like $20. So it's like I get enough to be able to survive through a month, but it's very tight.
Yeah.
So, but I mean that is the life of an artist usually anyway. So
right. Struggling artist. It's hard. It's gonna get harder, even harder with AI stuff. Yeah. So today I actually got this weird experience. I kind of napped like in the afternoon because I was kind of tired from streaming, and when I woke up, I kind of got this I don't know, this feeling where I suddenly like realized like I'm alone in Japan, and there's no one near me. A lot of my friends barely even speak English, and it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, what am I doing here?
I mean, hey, I almost ended up in that same situation.
Yeah.
Before I got cancer, I was actually in the JET program. Yeah. And
nice.
So I would have been living in Japan for like up to 3 years.
Oh, but you didn't go?
No, because like I said, that's when I got cancer.
That
was That was a bummer, but
Mhm.
since then I've learned a lot more, so I'm more prepared to go to Japan today if I had to.
Oh, will you do it?
If I ever got the opportunity, absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's two places that I want to go in my lifetime, and that's Ireland and Japan.
Yeah,
If I had
Japan's
all
cool.
the money in the world, I'd have a house in Ireland, and I'd have a vacation home in Japan.
But like I love Japan, but like I keep getting these weird vibes. Like sometimes when I kind of get like disconnected, you know, like this
Yeah.
feeling, you know, like you wake up and like okay, it's like you see like the sunset, and I'm like I'm in like a country that I
Mm.
don't really quite fit in, and I'm all alone here. I mean, I
Mm.
got friends online, but does that like would you really count that? You know,
Yeah,
like
I know what you mean.
if I die right now, will the people in chat like would they even notice? Like would they even hear the news? You know, like what happened to Rocky? Who knows? Like maybe they'll
Mm.
forget.
Or
Like
maybe
it's so
they'll
crazy.
maybe you don't even know it, and you've got a whole
Yeah.
bunch of fans in Japan, and then they'll build a shrine for you.
Yeah, I hope so. Like living alone is kind of a weird experience. I don't know. Like
Mhm.
when you've been living with your family for a long time, and you know, you're kind of used to like hanging out with friends and stuff. Like being alone in a different country feels weird. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. It's
I mean, it also depends on your mindset. If the family you spent time with was not the best family, living alone
right,
seems
right.
like a good option.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
And
Yeah.
and it definitely is for some people.
Yeah.
That was my situation. Yeah, I needed to get out of the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, go to Japan. Escape from the family. But you know, it's not just family. I mean, like you know, people who speak your own language, like just the basics that you kind of take for granted living in America. You know, like
Yep.
in America, you just walk down the street. You just talk to a random person, say hi, and they say hi back. You say good morning. In Japan, that doesn't happen. You can't just say "Ohayo gozaimasu" to a random person. They'll think you're weird. There's a whole like different social thing here, where it's kind of like frowned upon, like just to make like to talk to strangers, and
Yep.
it kind of gets to you sometimes, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What do you?
I experienced a little bit of that, not quite that to that extent, but I was an exchange student in Germany for a while.
Yeah.
And so I experienced a little bit of that too. But that was definitely an interesting time in my life.
What were you doing in Germany? You studying German?
Yeah. I studied college level German in high school.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we had an exchange program. So we went over there and we studied for a while. But it wasn't like we were studying German. It was basically they just sent us to a German school. And it's like, okay, now we're learning, but we're learning in German.
My chat's going crazy. They're like, please don't die all alone in Japan. Please don't just disappear. Like, give us a heads up. If I died suddenly, I wouldn't give you a heads up, guys. I won't type, hey, guys, I'm thinking of dying today.
No,
just
you're
a
not
heads
allowed.
up. Just a
Hey
heads
guys,
up.
I'm about
You
to
have
die
to,
real quick.
No stream,
sorry.
no stream. Sorry. Just about to. I gotta do this dying thing.
Mhm.
Hey guys, I think I'm getting kidnapped. Stream tonight canceled. Exactly. Yeah.
I'll just be like, hey guys, I'm dying, and I decided to let you guys know before I called 911.
Yeah. And lately, I had this.
I mean,
like
it's better than getting an ambulance in America.
Yeah, it's gonna cost a lot. Yeah. That's healthcare in Japan is surprisingly cheap. Like, I had this whole medical thing going on, still going on right now. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's kind of embarrassing, but like my parents back at home is kind of like worried, like, oh, you gotta get that checked. It might be cancer or something. I'm like, no, it's not. And it's yeah, it's kind of like scary to think about. Like, what if it was? Like, what if it is dangerous? Like, what would I do? I'm all alone here, you know? Like, there's no one here to like back me up or anything. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I know. For me, it would have been difficult because my dad would probably have flown to Japan to be there if I was struggling with a health issue, but my mom definitely would not have been. She cannot travel. And but at the end of the day, when I had cancer the second time, I ended up not being able to see my mom anyway because she refused to wear a mask. She was one of those people.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I don't know what about masks scares Americans. Like in Japan before.
It's legit just a piece of cloth over your face.
Right.
It's
like
a lot of misinformation.
It's common courtesy.
Right. In Japan, like they were wearing masks even before COVID, so like everybody was ready when COVID happened. Everyone just thought it was like normal to wear masks. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of it comes from the kind of the distrust that people built up of the government. And so then you had a lot of these conspiracies kind of show up. And a lot of those conspiracies ended up getting tied in with evangelical America. And it became almost this faith thing as well. So it became not only this battle of, oh, we're fighting people that are trying to misinform us, or we're fighting greedy people. It became this battle that was dialed up even further to, we're fighting the devil, we're fighting evil. And so if evil says do this, you do the opposite.
Yeah.
And
America's crazy now, man.
Yeah.
Everyone's like so divided.
Well, and like one of the big complaints I've heard about masks is that it limits the amount of oxygen that you take in, and so that can affect you. But they've studied that, and
it's not true.
Well, it is true. It does limit the amount of oxygen, but the amount of oxygen that your body can handle having limited before adverse effects happen, 20-something%.
It's very
like
minimal,
5%, I think. And the amount that masks cause is no more than 17%. So it doesn't even get close to that threshold.
Yeah. Well, guys, we've reached the 2-hour mark. All right. I had a lot of fun talking with you guys tonight. It's very interesting conversations, and I think chat also appreciates the conversations and the topics that we've talked about tonight. But like all good things must come to an end, you know. We have to end this now. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me too.
Do you guys have like you guys want to plug in your things again now that we're about to leave? Like, you got any like things to plug?
If you guys want to check out my Twitter, I'm just SentinelSam, or it's at SentinelSam1. And from there, you can find my website, and that'll give you all my links. And you can also check out Vio Productions, which you can find on my website as well.
How do you spell that? Vio?
VIO _ Productions.
Vio Productions. Okay, I'm typing it in chat. So, Vio Productions. Check. It's like a music service where I think you can get royalty-free music for your streams and stuff. It sounds really cool. I'm very interested. Do you make the music, by the way, or is it like? Yeah,
we have a team of producers that make the music.
That sounds really cool. Hugh, you got any last words to say?
Not really.
Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed our little conversations tonight. Let's see who we can raid before we go. Actually, raiding time.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Raid Shadow. I actually applied to get sponsorships, but they're like, nah. No, not to raid. But I wanted to get a sponsorship from Displate because I kind of like the little posters. But they're like, we'll don't call us, we'll call you. You know what? When I make it big display, you'll regret it.
Yep.
I don't know most of these people that were raiding, but we're raiding anyways. Let's raid Peach Shui. Raid Shadow Legend. Raid Peach Shui. Okay, we'll raid this person. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you, guests. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.